this is all really new information to me. It really is. And I mean, we hang out together, we talk all the time, and never have I thought to equate feeling stuck in certain situations to loss.
Did you push record?
Thank you so much for tuning into Our Second Act with Paige and Silka.
For your second act of life. Hey, Silka.
Hi, Paige. Paige, today we have what I consider an interesting topic in our emotional health series. We've done a lot of programming lately on, recreating life after 50, moving on, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of the comments we get is that people feel stuck. They don't believe that they can move on, that, it's too late, of course, at our age is something we hear a lot. And when you and I talked about this, you brought up that, it could be losses that we've experienced in our past that are keeping us stuck in whatever current situation we're stuck in today. And I've never heard that before.
Yeah, so typically when people hear about loss, they think death, especially when you're at midlife. So what I'm here to talk about is, yes, loss is death. However, there are so many other losses that we experience through life. And by the time you hit midlife, we've got a junkyard of losses. So when you think about all the way back to as far back as you can think as a child, think about all the things that you feel you lost. What were losses for you? And these losses build and build and build and build. And what happens is by the time you hit midlife, it now becomes a pillar that sits in the middle of your path. And maybe your pillar is this wide, or this wide. All depends on how much loss you've experienced, what you actually tuned into, if you've grieved any of those losses and found places for them and reframed them, or if you never did, then your junkyard is probably huge heaps of all different kinds of loss, not just death. Because losses create big barriers in our path.
Well, and as you say that makes a lot of sense. But this is all really new information to me. It really is. And I mean, we hang out together, we talk all the time, and never have I thought to equate feeling stuck in certain situations to loss. How does one become aware of that? How whatever specific losses are affecting a specific situation.
So what I would do is I would give a homework assignment. So here's my homework assignment. What you can do is think all the way back to your childhood and think about what things felt like, wow, that really felt like a loss to me. And what you do is you just write down bullet points. And sometimes the bullet points you want to write a little bit more depending on what comes to you. You start a timeline. What is my timeline of loss from as far back as I can remember until current day?
So something like if you had to move, or you lost a childhood friend or a pet, or somebody was mean to you, is that the kind of stuff you're talking about?
Yeah, all different kinds of things. And one of my losses was I was a chronic stutterer. I couldn't even finish a sentence when I was a little girl. And so I was constantly made fun of. And back then the teachers would go around and you get called upon, and I was always sweating profusely with anxiety of, oh my God, am I going to be able to speak without stuttering? So for me, it was a loss of my self-esteem because I didn't think, wow, I was smart enough or I could do this, because I was too worried about what the other children thought. So just a thought. So when you have your list, Silka, and you have your timeline, you'll be able to start to see, wow, that's a theme, that's a theme, that's a connection. And you'll start to see how these themes run through your losses and how that equates to what's going on in your life right now. If you feel stuck in a relationship, stuck you don't have a relationship, stuck because you can't move forward in a career, you don't know where to move, you don't know what to do, whatever it is, stuck. Take a look at the losses you've accumulated in your junkyard through the years to see the size of the pillar that's in your path.
So, and then it's a matter of dealing with the loss, which is, I'm assuming, a grieving process?
Part of it is a grieving process. So, and what I say to people is, sometimes people are very quick to think, oh, it's the big losses. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it might be the big losses, but so many times more than not, it's the things they look back on and go, wow, that was such a small situation, but that theme and the impact in that small situation was, excuse me, gigantic. And that felt like such a loss. So, yeah, you do have to grieve what maybe you didn't get, or what you feel like, wow, I lost that. I didn't get a chance to do that, whatever. So, you first have to create that timeline and see what have you carried forward to midlife that's still blocking you. And then you'll get another piece of homework from me is what do you do next after you have the timeline, and what do you do with it?
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's funny when we're talking, and one thing that came up to me
Hmm.
on a couple of these shows that we've done, including now this one, is that I've learned I equate expressing emotions with weakness. That was a huge, huge awakening to me because here we are talking, it's oh no, feel your emotions, deal with your emotions, telling people to do that, and then I'm writing copy, and it's like, and I put ask yourself if you think, showing emotion is weakness, and I'm writing this, and it was. And I think that came from a sense of loss of never being able to show my emotions when I was.
Yes,
So
that's huge. And when you think about our population, our generation, Silka, how many times did we hear from our parents, stop crying? If crying was going to help something, don't you think everybody would be doing it? So, many of us heard that and it was like, okay, let me swallow it, let me stuff it, let me not go there. And that was a loss.
so that's a kind of, again, I don't want to make this about myself, but you know, I just feel like if I'm going through, there's tons of other people that
Yeah,
may be experiencing the same thing, never having thought of it that way. That
yeah,
that is a loss of being able to express yourself. So it's that
yes.
kind of stuff is what we're talking about. That all of a sudden becomes a theme and an aha moment in our life after 50.
Right. And I think you've heard me say this before, but when you come to be midlife, anything that you haven't dealt with really builds up.
Yeah.
And especially with women as you go through perimenopause and menopause, because the mask is ripped off and the stuff just comes out, unfiltered completely. So you're getting an opportunity to look at what have the losses been in my life that not are all about physical death that are stopping me in my current path.
Well, we're going to be doing a lot more programming on this. And,
Yes.
you've given us a homework assignment for this segment, which is identify the losses and identify that timeline. And
Yes.
then you said you have some homework for what to do with it afterwards. Can you give us a quick taste of that?
No, I think I'll have you tune in one thing at a time because I don't want to overwhelm people. It's enough for them to go back because when you start to see some of the losses, sometimes you will get emotional. But remember this, the next piece of homework that I give on our next show will be how do I take this, grieve it, and shift and change it so I can move forward and my pillar doesn't have to be this thick, this wide, and this stuck so I can move forward.
Great. Well, then let me ask you what you'll leave our viewers with for this segment.
Take the time to do the timeline. You don't always have to do it in one sitting. And just realize that if you go, no freaking way am I going there, you can do that. But just know that no freaking way is your pillar going anywhere either. It's stuck in front of you, it's in your path until you want to really look at it and go, okay, what do I need to do to move forward? Everyone always says to me, oh my God, I'm afraid to do it because am I going to completely decompensate, fall apart, and never be able to function again? I'm here to tell you no. That we were given emotions to feel and tears to cry so we can clean and cleanse and move forward even better. As you said, Silka, you were afraid to feel the emotions because out of weakness. Weakness is not going there. Strength is stepping in.
And on that note, let's close out the segment. I look forward to our next segment when we talk about what to do with the discoveries you've just made about yourself and the losses in your life. So we'll see you on the next segment of Our Second Act with Paige and Silka.
For your second act of life. Bye bye.
Thanks so much for watching. For more information on living your life to the fullest after 50, please visit our website, secondact.tv. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Buttons are right over here. See you next time. Bye-bye.